Shrek. This movie has twist after twist after twist and many mysteries. In my last Shrek video, which I posted a year ago, I delved even deeper into the fairy godmother's plan and explained all of it, including the parts not explicitly said in the movie. And this time, I'm going to explain how the dragon can have mutant donkey babies. I'm the theorizer, and I'm going to call these things donkagons. I know that everyone else seems to call them dromkies, but I think donkagons sounds way cooler. And before we start, remember, this is just my theory as to how all of this works. I don't know if this is obvious or others have considered it, but it's just for fun, and I feel like I can explain it for those who don't know. Besides, I love making Shrek videos. Alright, let's explain the atrocities. So it's no secret that donkagons are impossible. They are hideous abominations of nature, and no donkey can beat the dragon. I mean, how in the name of technology with that word? Honestly, I don't even want to explain the traumatizing procedure, dare I say, Shrek, that this noble state would need to venture upon to accomplish this. Oh my god, I just barked. My point is, donkagons are paranormal little freaks of nature. They don't happen. Not even in the logic of something as redonkulous as Shrek. Unless they are aided by something, of course. That is natural. Something supernatural. So what do we know in these movies to be supernatural? Well, imagine powers. And as person says, the fairy godmother is the largest supplier of Texas potions and magic in the whole kingdom. So does this somehow root that dragon? At least suppose there was the fact that she created a dragon to birth beyond power. She never cared to help Donkey and the dragon. Why would she do anything to help them achieve their really quaint mutant family? And so I replied that last line I made. It wasn't directly. The fairy godmother's army of Raptor Potion was stolen from her by Shrek and his family in the Foons. When Shrek drank from it, he and Fiona shifted into humans. He had also changed various other things rather than just their bodies. See how when Shrek transformed back into an ogre, his clothes changed back with him. Initially, when he became human, they never did that. His clothes just stayed the same, as they didn't really need to change. But basically from this, we know that it isn't just their bodies that change. It's everything that pulls together, particularly ever after. That's how the potion literally works. Notice how Donkey and Shrek changed forms at the exact same time, despite the fact that Donkey drank the potion slightly earlier than Shrek. Also, notice how Donkey turns back into a donkey at the exact same time. And this can only mean one thing. The potion he drank was not responsible for his transformation into a horse. It was Shrek and Fiona's potion that changed him. The fact that it changes him at both the same times as Shrek, and that we already know that other things change with the potion proves in every way that Donkey was turned into a stallion because of Shrek and not because he did. And why did he change? Because in their happily ever after, they constantly called him their noble steed. So, based off of this incredibly powerful potion, he was altered into exactly that, a noble steed. I mean, if he drank the potion himself, why would he turn into a noble steed? Which doesn't make sense, but here, this explanation, it does, and it fits in a pretty interesting way. I suppose you could argue that they all simply changed at midnight and then had like 24 hours lasting effect, but that was never a rule or a law it had, and the chance of that happening is never likely or probable. Besides, even if it were likely, it wouldn't really matter when you consider the noble steed fact, and also and what does this all mean? How much time this all for the younger adults? Well, right after Donkey drank the potion, Shrek said that it probably wouldn't work on donkeys. Yet, it would work on an ogre. Why would it be fit for an ogre and not a donkey? Aren't they both animals? So we know that it would still likely work on a donkey anyway, since it works on Shrek, but I'm guessing it's directly intended for humans. And so, this arises with the question, What result from Donkey's growth was viewers of the movie didn't second guess it, and those who did assumed the dragon either became a stallion like Donkey, or more likely a larger, tinier, more powerful dragon. And while overall, it doesn't explain the fact that Donkey only became a horse because of Shrek breathing on Donkey. So, really, Donkey drank it. These little tricks of nature are the result of Donkey drinking the happily ocean. What does it promise? Divine beauty, happiness, comfort. Does it say that this beauty must be physical? No, it does not. Is happiness limited to ogres becoming humans? No, of course it's not. The beauty of a family and miracles of giving birth to a litter of donkey goats surely being successful. Only something magic could sustain, and enough, Dreams made this potion say maximum strength on it for literally no extra random reason. And that's significance, unless, of course, it was intended to do something big, like engage childbirth for mild levels. It had power to that, it's not like the fairy godmother. Surely, but what do indeed knows that this fairy godmother's magic has really real strength that isn't the same thing. A direct example, Prince Charming, the fairy, a human
Something real body after that,
I think not. You've seen it twice now. Also, the Travis, with her dumb dogs, having virtually zero main effect on the rest of the story. It's just so random and out of the blue, as they could have just as easily introduced them in the third movie. This being DreamWorks, there's always a significance to everything, making it likely that this final scene does in fact have some effect on the main story.
Thank you.
Making it likely that this final scene does in fact have some effect on the main story. And what would that possibly be? Oh, right, happily ever after potion. Sorry, it's just me quickly butting in while editing, and I want you to notice something. Notice how when they're all transformed back, it's only Shrek and Fiona who are really low. Dumpy just grows a little bit. This shows how it is all revolving around them, and that him turning into a steed is due to Shrek drinking the air. They begin to fall health and control of him, while Dumpy kind of just blows it over the sheep. And one thing like that. Dumpy fell asleep a few seconds before Shrek. This is the Dumpy a few seconds before Shrek, and was affected slightly before, then they both transformed at the same time when Shrek fell asleep. It's Shrek's breathing of the potion that turned Dumpy.
That's the most random highlight.
Definitely it is.
I've been I'm excited to see you guys. See you this year, guys.
But there's one fortunate blockage in this theory that would be hard to make for Shrek and Fiona needed to live before midnight. They want to stay in their
Different ends.
Donkey just crashed the theory. Donkey and the dragon is before midnight, and she was likely dying of swamp. But she died. There it is. So, exactly because this potion would be. We have a bucket full of evidence that a supernatural but the midnight is rejects this. So let's try and work around this little verse. This potion doesn't have
really
a big year that is to kiss your pretty love at midnight.
If there's any hesitation that you have, where there's like a crack in the door.
You cannot just fly back in. And disappearing into thin air is really a standard. That's one kind of sort of so this means that Silk is affected by the Shrek, and it is also affected by his own gift. So could you bring Fiona's blood to its somehow affected babies? That too is a possibility. So these are still workers. Those don't even change, but yes, do you think this could have led to the effects on its love interest? But there's one thing to do. If there's anything the Shrek universe has taught me, It's that there's always a way to work sequence with the whole thing. This contract trying to work it out. So I can see it like this. And I haven't read
Ready to go again.
Another option is that maybe strict with right, and it works differently on double. Always the other and now for double is great. It's working. I think it does. So I'm going to use the effect. Double PMS potion using effect with Century Double Dragon. Don't get left to the third effects. Check the potion. Let the dragon it just works differently. Either way though, this theory has value. And there's always a way to work around things like the potion's rules. Especially the dragon also adheres to the big one, which I think is the correct answer. Notice how the one final note is that it's not purpose. And this is likely for comedic effect of paranoid medications. But regardless, officially quite hyperactive. And Shrek looks at it and worried. So is that idea of children. Does Donkey only functionally qualify because think that fits as well. This is surprisingly random. And Shrek at first look at Donkey as he's acting all hyperactive. So weird thing to include a comment. So that's most of what I've got for now. But I do know this. I am not done with this theory. I will try to remember a successful conclusion how this potion's rules really work. I will decide on an answer. It has to be one of those 5 reasons, but most likely the last one. Donkey breaking the warning, result in altered outcomes. Or maybe it's a mix of all of them. Either way, until next time, I am the theorizer, and I thought this theory was a fun one to come up with.
It's not exactly a watch party if there's nothing to watch. Good thing Walmart Express delivery comes in as fast as an hour. Not on my watch. And like the first 2 possessions with Neil Ackman, really.
But here's the thing. They weren't asking him anytime I assess a player in his or her chosen profession. I never use what they did off the field into that argument because that really has no bearing on how great a player you are in your chosen sport. So when I look at this, yeah, LeBron James, what he's been able to do without Obama, he's been able to take on social issues head on. Michael ran away from that. Michael was the only great player in the 80s and 90s that shied away from things like this. This is not the way the players are currently skilled. They're not only socially responsible, they're morally responsible, and they feel they have an obligation because of the position that they're in to say, okay, this is my community. That can easily been my son, my brother, my friend, my cousin, or something of those magnitudes. So I set that aside. I'm just looking at strictly basketball related. For me, Skip, what he's been able to do, how he's been able to do it, and for as long as he's been able to do it, LeBron James is the best player in my opinion. Now, Skip, you might poll 100 guys, and you might get 50 different answers. 50 for LeBron, 50 for Jordan. For LeBron, 25 for Jordan. You might get 80 for Jordan, 20 for LeBron. Okay, but for me, what he's been able to do, for as long as he's been able to do it, when I look at LeBron James is currently 7th in assists. He's 105th behind Magic. He's 293 behind Mark Jackson, which is 5. He's 294 behind Steve Nash. If he averaged what he's been averaging this year, he'll be in the top 4 all time in assists. Wow, he's about to pass. About the same time, he's about to be the #1 scorer of all time. I just, the 10 championships, yes, he lost 6. But to go to 8 straight finals, to go to 10 finals, the man has been in more finals than everybody except the Celtics and the Lakers. I think that speaks volumes. If you look at how he's done it, the All-NBAs, the MVPs, the Finals MVPs, the final appearances, the totality of his body of work. That's why I said I'm not scared. Look, if you put obviously if you put the court into it, it's not even close. It's not even close. But
I'll buy that.
I don't factor that.
It's not even a discussion. I mean,
Right.
it's laughable. It's game over.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Because that for me, since he is was tremendous. But now I was not going to say he's the greatest baseball player because of what transpired off the field. No.
Okay. My turn. Back to Jason Kidd. I believe that Jason Kidd is a lot like Tom Brady in that deep down, privately, quietly, he is his own man. I think he's very opinionated. And I think little of what he says publicly is what he believes deep down privately. So he's become, as a head coach, company man, hard-line, politically correct.
He's better coach this time around. He's got the learned a lot. Unbelievable.
He's scared. In fact, you can argue they're playing the best basketball of anybody over the last decade or more. Maybe more than that. I can go back almost 2 months. Yeah. They have been on a tear.
He's got Luka playing out of his mind.
Has a lot for a lot of fans, but I think he had burned out on them and them on him.
Right.
So you got to change the rule. And then vice versa. And I think he's done with it. Yeah, I know he was taking shots at him. Yeah, not being in shape. Okay, so the point is, Jason, it's that Super Bowl bond we just talked about with Tom and EA that will never go away. Well, Jason was assistant coach and he was sort of assigned to LeBron, actually.
Right.
I think he was LeBron's private coach in a lot of ways.
Right.
And they won the bubble championship. So you can't take that away, and it's a bond that you will never be able to break. Right. So he's going to always lean to LeBron in these kind of discussions. So if he gets asked publicly about LeBron, it doesn't surprise me a bit. He's going to say he's the GOAT. But his logic, his reasons, I don't love. Because he says, I think LeBron will go down as the greatest to do it. When you look at his numbers, what he's done on and off the court, no one's done that. Okay, to your points. If you want to go off the court, you got me. Game over. It's all LeBron all the time. I can't argue with that. He also made a good point. Today's players are all more prone to do that. So it's not that it's not fashionable to do it, it's against the grain. It's not popular. I think it was when LeBron first started. Right. And I think he risked losing some endorsement. Right. But I don't think he lost any. No. What he was saying.
Right.
Of all colors,
right.
Loved what he was saying. So he was there. And if that's your argument, then you got me. I give into that. And then he says, when you look at his numbers, okay. These are longevity achievements, and if you want to throw them across the table at me, you got me, because he's playing a long time at a very high level, and hark back to what I told you about LeBron. You can't get all excited about LeBron finally passing Karl Malone. When he passed him, LeBron had attempted 521 more shots than Karl did in his entire career. 501, that's a lot of shots. And then if you factor in the three-point shooting, Karl in his career made a grand total of 85 three-point shots. Well, LeBron has made 2,137. So that's 2,052 more than Karl made. So if we do it times 3, because 3 is greater than 2, well, that means that LeBron has scored 6,156 more points from 3 than Karl was able to. If you add it, if you do the math on that, a long time ago.
But Skip, you have to realize Karl was a back-to-the-back basket player, so a lot of his was layups and dunks out of the pick and roll. So it's not like he was shooting the ball from distance as much as LeBron was.
You know what? I watched a lot of Karl Malone. I campaigned for the Mavericks to draft him, and still something that they didn't. But the point was, he was a lethal mid-range jump shooter.
Yeah, he can pick and pop.
It was beautiful to watch, and he picked and popped a lot, and it was like automatic. He would just drain them like they were free throws.
Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of free throws, LeBron has a career 7. .4% free throw shooter, and by his superstar standards, that's just sorry free throw shooter. That's just me, but you leave a lot of points on the table there. So if you're an 84 like Jordan or an 88 like KD career, well, then you would have passed Karl even long before that.
Skip, you know, first of all, God was not going to make Steph Curry 6'8", be able to shoot the 3 like he does, to be able to drive the basketball like Giannis and LeBron, and be able to post up like Embiid. That beat. He didn't allow Jordan to shoot the 3 ball like he did Steph Curry. So you can't get everything. So you want the man to be able to drive the ball like he does, be as normal as he is, shoot the free ball like Steph Curry, have a big like Kevin Durant. Damn! Kevin Durant didn't have everything.
I always tell my patients that you don't have to look like what you've been through.
I became a therapist because I know what it was like to be alone.
Pressure of trying to provide as a single mom and a solo therapist. It's hard to explain that. In line, it's not that I can't do most things. It's just about finding a different.
If we're talking GOAT, the GOAT I know, the real GOAT, not the phony one, he had it all. I don't know
He didn't have a free ball.
Well, they did emphasize it. He was not prioritized. Listen, I know him. If you'd said, season, I need you to go perfect your three-point shot, he would have done it, but they did not make it essential. It wasn't what he did. LeBron has figured out in year 19, threes are better than twos. I can score faster from three. He's taken 8 a game. The most he'd ever taken was 6.2 last year.
Here's the thing. If you look at Jordan and Kobe, as they got older, they started playing further and further away from the basket. So LeBron says, instead of shooting an 18-footer, I might as well step in the corner and go a couple of feet further, and I'll get an extra point if I make the shot. I mean, I might miss the 2, I might miss the 3, but if I make both, I got one more point. So the evolution of the game, obviously, Skip, as you start to age, Jordan couldn't soar through the air like he could in his 20s and early 30s. Kobe couldn't soar in his teens and 20s and early 30s. So obviously, you got to evolve your game if you want to stay in the game. It's not like Skip. It's not like Brady, because Brady's game was not not reliant on athleticism.
Okay.
Either drop back passer, I'm gonna get rid of the football. All right. If he was a Cam Newton, like Cam Newton's game was athleticism. Kyler Murray game was athleticism. Lamar Jackson, they're not gonna play 20 years. There's no way they're gonna still have that athleticism. So unless you evolve your game, LeBron has been able to evolve his game and still let that sink in. Skip, you're talking about the guys that are empty. Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic. To show you that he's evolved this game.
Okay, but he's taken the most shots in the league. So it's not surprising to me that he's leading the league in scoring. That became his point.
So there are a lot of guys that have led the league in shots that didn't lead the league in scoring. But for the fact of the matter is, Skip, is that here you are in year 19. And to play at this level, did you ever think you see somebody in year 19, no matter how great they were, play at this level?
Okay, this is the one area that LeBron reminds me of Jordan in '98, the team I covered, the Last Dance team in Chicago. That Jordan was still sensational at bully ball. He was such a grown man. He worked so hard with the great Tim Grover on weight training.
Right.
That was to get past the bad boy Pistons first. But at this point in 1998, he could just brutalize you in the post.
Right.
He didn't care how big you were. He could play grown man basketball. That's what LeBron plays. To his credit, that's the best thing he does. When he gets a mind to, and he starts setting up in the low post, nobody can stop him still.
But you got to think about it, Skip. Think about how old Jordan was. He was, 33, 34 in 98? Okay. Still in the games on his leg. Take a minute. He's 3 years older. So much more game. So many more minutes.
Longevity. I give you that.
But I'm saying
it's spectacular.
But it drains you when you have to play this many minutes and you're asking him to still play the type of game that he can play in his teenagers and his 20s. He can't play that. He cannot play the 40 minutes and continuously drive after drive, play after play, get to the rim. He can't. Everybody can.
So what does he resort to? He now ranks 14th in the league in three-point shot attempts. That's hot. That's top 15 in the league.
Yes.
But his three-point make percentage ranks in the bottom third of the league.
He shoots 36%. We'll deal with that.
Okay, well, you're living with it because he's always been, I'm being nice about this, a below-average three-point shooter.
36 is good for him.
Well,
He can't have it all.
I'm just saying, but it's bottom third of the league. I think it ranks 99 of 147.
So you want LeBron to be able to drive the basketball like he's done for 19 years, Shoot the three like Steph Curry at his apex. Have the mid-range game like a Kyrie or Kevin.
See?